This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB, bringing you news, cultural, and educational programs. This is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. And here is a special announcement from the leadership of Biafra government in exile. This is BCB.
Good day, wonderful people of Biafra and friends of Biafra all over the world, especially brothers and sisters in the homeland, all men and women of good conscience and goodwill. We welcome you to today's broadcast, this Sunday, the 12th day of June, 2022. I want to begin by condemning in the strongest terms the barbaric and despicable terrorist attack on St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, in Ondo State, in the ancient Oduduwa Kingdom, in present-day Nigeria. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who lost their lives, men, women, and little children, and to the Catholic Diocese of Owo and the entire Christian community in that area. Nigeria, as reported by Amnesty International and Inter-Society for Human Rights Organization, is the most dangerous place for Christians in the entire world. And it's getting worse. It's going to get worse. The forests in Yoruba land and all the bushes and forests in Biafra land are occupied by terrorists, Fulani herdsmen, armed with most dangerous weapons, and they continue to equip themselves with large quantities of arms and ammunition, various types of explosives, rocket-propelled grenades, and many others. They are getting ready, and they've been planning this jihad for a very long time. They want to take over our lands in the south, the southwest, and the southeast, and the Delta region. The worst aspect of it is that Buhari, the outgoing president, whether dead or alive, and his cronies, they are radical Fulani Muslims. They are sponsoring these terrorists with Nigerian money. Most of the money coming from the southeast, from oil and gas in the southeast, more than 90%. So they're using the resources from the south. Does that ring a bell? Not only to fund development in the north, but now to fund a jihadist war against the south. They have come to kill the indigenous peoples in the southwest, in the southeast, in the Middle Belt and Niger Delta regions, and they are not going to stop. They want the ancestral lands of the Yoruba people, the Doma people, Igbo people, Ijo, Efik, Bini people, Ogoni people, Isoko, Igala, Chamba in the Middle Belt, TV people. They've already overrun Benue and all the indigenous populations in that region. Indigenous peoples have the right to protect their land. They have the right not to be killed and annihilated. They have the right not to be exterminated. They have the right to choose how they want to be governed. Right to pursue economic prosperity in a peaceful and conducive atmosphere, devoid of threats of genocide and terrorist attacks. like we saw in our war. Brutal terrorists, inhumane attacks, killing little children. We saw a little boy, hardly 4 or 5 years, lying in the pool of his blood in St. Francis Church. Heartbreaking. Indeed, everyone has the God-given right to associate freely, to speak freely, and to worship their God freely without being murdered, without being killed, marginalized, subjugated, and subjected to the crime of genocide. Events of recent days is very clear testament that indigenous peoples of Biafra and those in the Middle Belt and Western regions are in real danger from terrorist Fulani jihadists. These people believe that Nigeria belongs to them. They believe that Nigeria should be the estate of their great-grandfather Usman Dan Fodio. So they will stop at nothing. They are not mincing words, and they are taking action. They are kidnapping, they are terrorizing to raise money to finalize their war plan. But I have good news for them, or rather bad news for them and good news for Biafrans. We will be ready for them. The Igbo nation will be ready without a shadow of a doubt. We've never been conquered before, not now, not ever. As we work day and night to strengthen Biafra provisional government, the Biafra government in exile in diaspora, and the Biafra shadow government at home, we will be ready to defend our territory and our ancestral land. Make no mistake about that. We will be ready, and we back ourselves to do the job. We will be ready to protect our people. Men, women, children, the young and the old. We will be ready to protect them. The kidnapping of our bishops, our priests, our students, our brothers, sisters, mothers, and our fathers by these Fulani terrorists must stop. We will get after them in every forest from Lokbanta to Isochi, Okigwe, Olo, Obinze, wherever you may be, in Isiekenesi, in Ishiweke, in Obo, Mbise, Mbano. Anywhere you are hiding in our bushes, in Itumbuzo, in Abreba, in Ohofia, Bende, in Eda, in faraway Abakaliki, in Enugwezike, anywhere we find you, we will get rid of you. Anywhere you're hiding, in any part of Biafra land, there will be no hiding place for you. Further evidence of marginalization of Ndibo, and indeed the entire Biafra land, was very clear to us, displayed in rather brazen circumstances in the current presidential primaries. In the words of Dr. Bonneonu, an APC candidate from Igbo land, where is the justice? When it comes to the turn of the Southeast, to the turn of the Igbo people to produce a president, the major parties ganged up against the Igbo man. They don't want the Igbo man in power in Nigeria, yet they don't want the Igbo man to go their separate way. Fulani terrorists and bandits are killing and maiming thousands, kidnapping for ransom, yet they are not arrested and made to face the law. But they hold Nnamdi Kanu and thousands of peaceful Biafra agitators in detention. We hereby call for the immediate release of Nnamdi Kanu from detention and all other Biafra detainees. They must be released. A call for self-determination is not a call for war. We're not asking for war, but we will fight in self-defense. We will defend our land, we will defend our territory. Self-determination is a right recognized under international and regional conventions, the United Nations Charter. The African Union charters recognize these rights. Indigenous nationalities in southeastern Nigeria must be alert now. They must wake up. The emergence of Tinubu as the APC presidential candidate is part of the agenda. It's a Fulanization agenda. From the heart of the Sokoto Caliphate, the Islamic Command Center. We have it on good record that Tinubu is terminally ill. He has lost one kidney and the other will pack up within 12 to 18 months. He has severe Parkinson's syndrome. He cannot hold a paper, he cannot hold a pen, he cannot sign a document, and has already suffered an episode of stroke. A second episode is usually fatal. Sadly, Tinubu hasn't got very long to live. The Northern Cabal are fully aware of Tinubu's grave health conditions. Hence, they voted for him, in the knowledge that his vice president, who will be a Hausa Fulani Muslim, will take over after his demise. Do not say we did not warn. We've warned you. The amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates expired in 2014. Technically, Nigeria ceased to exist in 2014, going by the colonial agreement. So indigenous nationalities must now rise up, demand for the abrogation of the Constitution of 1999 and the immediate constitution of a national conference, so that the peoples in this space will be free to decide for themselves how they want to be governed, how they want to associate with each other. Let me be clear. For us in Biafra Government in Exile, our job is to ensure that Biafra is restored in a peaceful, diplomatic, and democratic process. If Nigeria decides to constitute that conference, our decision is clear. An independent Biafra will emerge. I want to thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned for the rest of the program. And remember, we come to you from BCB every Sunday at 4 p.m. Biafra time. God bless you, and may God protect our land.
This is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, bringing you the news summaries for the week. In the news this week, terrorist attacks. You'll be destroyed, disgraced, out of power. Hurua tells Southeast governors. ISWAP blamed for church massacre in Nigeria. ISWAP moves 18 billion naira annual revenue through Nigeria's financial system, ECOWAS body. Stay tuned for the details coming shortly. From the Daily Post, terrorist attacks. You will be destroyed, disgraced, out of power. Hurua tells Southeast governors. Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, Hurua, has strongly warned politicians in the Southeast that they will be destroyed and disgraced out of office for doing nothing while alleged Fulani terrorists take over the region, killing and kidnapping citizens. The group, in a statement signed by its national coordinator, Comrade Emmanuel condemned the resurgence of kidnapping and violent attacks on Igbo communities allegedly carried out by armed Fulani terrorists. The group noted that those attacks were mainly carried out in Enugu and Abia State, charging political leaders, traditional rulers, civil rights, and diasporic Igbos to work collectively to take worldwide action to compel Buhari government to stop terrorists from destabilizing the Igbo-dominated region. Hurua said the most immediate step is for Igbos to take legal steps to put an end to the allegedly coordinated attacks on the Eastern Security Network, ESN, and other voluntary armed vigilantes set up by Igbo youths to stave off external incursions by armed Fulani terrorists into the southeast. Hurua said that the current governors and political leaders in the region were no longer dependable and have betrayed the people. The group slammed security agencies for going after Igbo youths who, due to the failure on the part of the governors, had decided on their own to float the ESN to help combat terrorism in the region. The group said that kidnappers and other terrorists have been allowed to operate freely in the region, while security forces' only stock in trade was to crush the ESN, thereby leaving the Igbo states porous. Hurua noted that kidnapping and terrorist activities have increased in the southeast ever since the prelate of the Methodist Church of Nigeria, retired Reverend Uche Kanu, paid 100 million naira to armed Fulani terrorists in Lokmanta, Abia State. It recalled that no fewer than 4 indigenes of Ikem community in issues the local council of Enugu State have been abducted in the past 2 weeks, with different sums of ransom paid for release. The rights advocacy group said those attacks were embarrassment to Ndibo, adding that the governors and the legislators have abandoned the region to pursue their selfish agenda of retaining political power in 2023 election. Our next news from Al Jazeera Online: ISWAP blamed for church massacre in Nigeria. Security experts say the armed group ISWAP might not be behind the Owo church killings, despite the government's accusations. Nigerian government has blamed an ISIL-affiliated armed group in the country for carrying out an attack that killed dozens of worshippers at a church. Security experts, however, expressed skepticism over the allegation. The responsibility for Sunday's deadly bomb and gun assault in Owo town, Ondo State, which killed at least 40 churchgoers, belonged to the Islamic State of West Africa province, according to the Nigerian officials. The accusation was made to the press by Interior Minister Rauf Aregbesola after a National Security Council meeting on Thursday in the capital Abuja. The minister added that armed forces are on the hunt for the perpetrators. However, the armed group has yet to claim responsibility for the Sunday morning attack, and analysts noted it is unusual because ISWAP is known to quickly take credit for past violence. I think we should be prudent, Vincent Faucher, a research fellow at the National Center for Scientific Research, told Al Jazeera. It is better not to pin it on them too quickly, because they usually claim quite fast. ISWAP is credited for several deadly incidents in Nigeria's northeast, its major sphere of operation. But recently, the armed group has expanded its attack elsewhere. Last month, it claimed responsibility for an assault on a cultural event in Kogi State, and also a bombing in Taraba State that caused 30 casualties. Data about the number of casualties Nigeria has suffered from ISWAP attacks is hard to come by. While the ISWAP has claimed responsibility for the attacks, it is unclear how many casualties it has suffered. ISWAP has said that its attacks have been carried out in Nigeria, and that the group has been targeting Christians. but there has been an increase in its operations. Security analysts have noted the possibility of the expansion to the southern part of the country. However, some are saying massacre might have been carried out by another group. There is a lapse between ISWAP claims there's a lapse because ISWAP claimed responsibility for their attacks. Idiat Hassan, director of Abuja's Center for Democracy and Development, a research think tank, told Al Jazeera. It's their profile within the Islamic State hierarchy. They love publicity, she said. Farcha pointed to the discrepancies between the Owa attack and others the group has taken credit for. I find it a bit strange because it is not just the same style of attack. They use several attackers, and it was not just about throwing some explosive, Farcha said. Their network is not strong in the south, and I don't think they would expose a group of about 5 or 6 attackers just for an attack. They would make more economic use of their staff. And our final news headline for the week from Punch: ISWAP moves 18 billion naira annual revenue from Nigeria's financial system, ECOWAS body. The Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, established by the Economic Community of West African States, says Boko Haram splinter group Islamic State West Africa Province moved about 18 billion, the equivalent of $36 million, generated from trading and taxing communities in the Lake Chad region through the Nigerian financial system annually. The group, set up by ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government in 2000, stated that both Boko Haram and ISWAP had continued to mobilize, move and utilize funds through the nation's formal financial and commercial systems. It noted that the government lacked adequate insight into Boko Haram and ISWAP international linkages and abuse of the formal financial and commercial sectors. It said, even though the Department of State Security Services has significant ability to identify and investigate terrorist financing activities, and it even conducts parallel financial and terrorism investigations, there was little evidence of the effectiveness of such efforts. The group, known as GAIABA, stated these in its 2021 Mutual Evaluation Report, where it also noted that Nigeria lacked the explicit policy to confiscate proceeds of crime or property of equivalent value, including terrorism financing. It also said the Nigerian government, led by the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, failed to confiscate the assets of terrorists as stipulated in the Global Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorist Financing Standards. Nigeria has been battling Boko Haram insurgency for about 12 years, during which thousands have been killed, including civilians and soldiers. Several persons, including school children and women, were kidnapped, with many still in captivity, while millions have been displaced. Meanwhile, the GAIABA report was adopted by the Global Financial Intelligence Agency Financial Action Task Force, whose recommendations helped authorities to go after the money of criminals dealing in illegal drugs, human trafficking, and other crimes. The report stated Boko Haram and ISWAP pose significant terrorist financing risks that are challenging to disrupt, operating in large parts outside the formal financial and commercial systems in the conflict zone. And with that brings an end to our news this week. This is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, thanking you for listening and saying goodbye, friends.
This is BCB. We'll return to our archives for a short visit with history and words of wisdom from our elders. We offer you this broadcast from VOBI, Voice of Biafra International, on November 20th, 2009. Fellow Biafrans, are you listening? Are you awake? As you contemplate your next steps in this miasma called Nigerian politics, let's revisit history. Here is from VOBI, Voice of Biafra International.
In 1965, the Sokoto Caliphate of the Nigerian federal government of Malam Abubakar Tafawa Balewa subverted the Yoruba and made them engage in an internecine war in which they slaughtered themselves in large numbers and burnt down whole communities in what they called Operation Weti. The Caliphate had also imprisoned Chief Awolowo, the leader of the Yoruba, and thrown Yoruba land into anarchy. The Igbo were horrified. Then, the Premier of Eastern Region, Dr. Emeaghi Okpara, sent help to rescue the West from the Caliphate. Mazi Okono, an Igbo man, was broadcasting the authentic results of the Western Region election from under the table in Awolowo's house as the Hausa Fulani and their ally, S.L. Akintola, were announcing fake results, slaughtering Yoruba men and women and destroying Yoruba land. This eventually led to the coup of January 15, 1966, whose goal was to release Awolowo from prison and install him Prime Minister of Nigeria. The Yoruba joined the Hausa Fulani in dubbing it an Igbo coup, though Major Adewale Ademoyiga, a full-blooded Yoruba officer, confessed that he was one of the 5 majors who planned and executed the coup, and that their goal was to release Awolowo from Calabar prison and install him as the Prime Minister of Nigeria. Ojukwu released Awolowo from Calabar prison. On getting home, Awolowo declared his support for the Abri Agreement, one of whose clauses was that northern soldiers occupying Western region must return to their homeland in northern Nigeria. Awolowo then issued this famous statement, quote, "If the Eastern region is allowed by acts of omission or commission to secede from or opt out of Nigeria, then the Western region and Lagos must also stay out of the Federation." End quote. Northern Nigerian soldiers refused to leave Western Nigeria. Awolowo, who was saved by the Igbo, formed alliance with the Hausa Fulani, who had been killing his people and occupying their land, and in one of the most dastardly acts in history, urged his Yoruba people to join the Hausa Fulani in slaughtering thousands of Igbo and other people of Eastern region living in Western Nigeria. In 1983, the Sokoto Caliphate and the Hausa Fulani Yoruba oligarchy organized a coup to topple the government of Shehu Shagari. Umaru Diko, Minister of Transport in Shagari's government, later revealed that the only reason they planned and executed the coup was to make sure that Alex Ekwueme, then Vice President of Nigeria, will not become the President of Nigeria after the termination of Shehu Shagari's second term as President. Buhari and the Sokoto Caliphate dumped Ekwueme in Kirikiri prison, Lagos, and sent Shehu Shagari to his home in Shagari village, Sokoto. When Ibrahim Babangida the Snake annulled the election of Abiola as President of Nigeria, Ndi Igbo were in the forefront of fighting for the restoration of Abiola's mandate. When Abiola thought that he had finally concluded his secret treaty with the Caliphate and the Hausa Fulani, he immediately told Ndi Igbo that he did not need the Igbo to be President of Nigeria. The Igbo licked their wounds and shut their mouths. When the Hausa Fulani and other northerners fell on the Igbo and slaughtered 100,000 Igbo and other Easterners living in northern Nigeria between May and October 1966, what did the Yoruba do? They sent Yoruba Obas to tour northern Nigeria and thanked the northern emirs for not killing the Yoruba when they were slaughtering the Igbo and their kin from the eastern region. There are literally scores of examples of bad faith, treachery, and cowardly exploitation of the Igbo and other Easterners by the Hausa, Fulani, and Yoruba. Anyone with common sense, not high sense, should know never, 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 ever to trust the Hausa, Fulani, and the Yoruba in discussions, in negotiations, in treaties. Never ever trust their public declaration and pledges of loyalty. Once the chips are down, they will sell you down the river. The Igbo and their kin in Eastern region must realize that the only agenda of the Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba is to dominate you, exploit and use your resources for their benefit, and enslave all you people of Eastern region Biafra. The only survival strategy for the Igbo and their kin in Eastern region is to fight back aggressively, to push back as fiercely as ever against this evil plan. Unless you push back ever so aggressively, then you all will be enslaved. A bully responds to nothing other than aggressive counterattack. You have been complaining about resource control. We ask you just one question. If this oil and gas were to be located in Sokoto, Katsina, Kano, or Meduguri, all of you from Eastern region will be begging for the issuance of visa from Arewa country to travel to Kano, to Jos, to Meduguri, to Katsina, to Bauchi, and even to Makodi. Ndị Igbo, onye mara asụ, ya sụọ n'odo, onye amaghị asụ, ya sụọ n'ala.
This is Rose Ama, and this is BCB. Fellow Biafrans, we close our program today with a short entry from Ojukwu's journal. It is a single entry. June 18th. Lieutenant Colonel David Ajo, military governor of the Midwest, addressing the people in Asaba, Midwest Nigeria, says that he will not live to see Midwestern region turned into a battlefield, Ojukwu writes. War is coming to us, and Ojukwu is aware of that. Britain has joined the federal government of Nigeria in its acts of aggression, and the federal government is galvanizing its forces. Fellow Biafrans, as we contemplate the future, or even the present, we must look back to the past to understand our journey. We must ask ourselves again and again, what is the cost of freedom? What does freedom mean to you? I leave you with that question. Join us next week. Like us on Facebook and on YouTube. This is Rose Ama, and this is BCB, the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra. Peace. Thank you for listening to us today. Join us next time for news, cultural, and educational programs. This is the Broadcasting Corporation of Biafra, BCB.
Oh, Give